Today we're going to dive into a story that looks really simple on the surface.
Mm,
You see the cover, that little watercolor of a boy on a tiny
The
planet.
Little Prince?
Exactly. And you think, oh, I read that as a kid. But our mission today isn't to revisit a children's story. We're looking at the source, El Principito by Saint-Exupéry, as a pretty sharp critique of how adults operate.
It's incredible packaging, isn't it?
Yeah.
We file it under fairy tales, but when you actually analyze the text, it's so much closer to a manual on existentialism.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets into the absurdity of modern life, how we connect with each other, and this total failure of grown-ups to see what's actually valuable.
That is exactly it. We want to decode the metaphors Saint-Exupéry put in there, the baobabs, the rose, the fox, because the whole point seems to be that grown-ups are just hopelessly confused about what's essential.
He even says it in the dedicate. He dedicates it to his friend, Leon Worth, but then he apologizes for dedicating it to a grown-up.
Right, and he changes it.
He changes it to Leon Worth when he was a little boy. His whole idea is that all grown-ups were children once, but, very few of them remember it.
Yeah.
They've lost the ability to see clearly.
So let's get into the evidence for that right at the start. The narrator, the pilot, tells us about his childhood drawing. He's 6 years old, and he draws what he calls masterpiece number 1.
To him, it's obvious. It's a boa constrictor digesting an elephant.
But he shows it to the adults, the serious people, and asks if it scares them, and what do they say?
Why should anyone be frightened by a hat?
Because that's all they can see, the surface, a lumpy brown hat.
Yeah.
So he tries to help them out. He draws masterpiece number 2, which is like an X-ray.
You see the elephant right there, inside the snake. But their reaction to that one is even worse.
It's the moment that just crushes his creativity. They tell him to put away his drawings of boa constrictors and focus on, like, what was it? Geography, history.
Arithmetic and grammar. And arithmetic is a word that comes up again and again. It's like the enemy of imagination in this book.
It is. He says that's the end of his magnificent artistic career at age 6. He becomes a pilot and, lives his life among adults talking about bridge and golf and politics.
He basically learned to blend in. He says whenever he met an adult who seemed a little bit lucid, he tests them with that first drawing.
And if they said, it's a hat,
He wouldn't talk about primeval forests or boa constrictors. He'd just bring himself down to their level. It's such a sad commentary on how we censor ourselves to fit in.
but then that all breaks. The pilot crashes his plane in the middle of the Sahara, 1,000 miles from anyone.
He's got maybe 8 days of water. It's a real crisis.
Mm.
And in that total isolation, he's woken up by this little voice.
Please draw me a sheep.
The little prince arrives, and the pilot is stressed. He's trying to fix an engine. He tries to brush him off. But the prince is insistent.
So he tries to draw the sheep, and he's just terrible at it.
He fails completely. The first one is too sickly. The prince says no.
The next one has horns, so it's a ram. Rejected. Then one's too old.
The prince wants a sheep that will live a long time. He has this very specific idea in his head.
So the pilot, totally frustrated, just scribbles a box, a crate with 3 air holes. And he says, the sheep you want is inside.
And this is the real test, right?
Yes. An adult would say, that's a box, but the prince's face just lights up.
He says, that is exactly the way I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
He can see through the box. He's not limited by what's visible. He operates on that frequency where imagination is reality.
Which makes perfect sense when you learn where he's from. Asteroid B612. And the story of its discovery is another one of these jabs at adults.
Oh, yeah. A Turkish astronomer discovers it in 1909. He presents his findings at this big congress, but because he's wearing traditional Turkish clothing.
Nobody believes him. The narrator just says, grown-ups are like that.
But then, years later, a dictator makes everyone in Turkey dress like Europeans. So the astronomer goes back in 1920, wearing a nice suit, gives the exact same presentation.
And this time, everyone accepts his report.
It's all about the packaging, the costume, not the truth itself.
It connects to what he says about houses. You can't tell a grown-up, I saw a beautiful house with geraniums in the windows. They can't imagine it.
But if you say, I saw a house that cost 100,000 francs, then they go, oh, what a pretty house. They only understand the world through numbers.
But life on asteroid B612 isn't easy. It has this one huge danger. Baobabs.
This is one of the best metaphors in the book. Baobabs are these massive trees, and on a tiny planet, they're an existential threat.
The prince explains that there are good seeds and bad seeds. The baobab seeds are bad if you don't pull them up the moment you recognize them.
When they're just little sprouts.
Their roots will just tear the planet apart.
He calls it a matter of discipline. After you wash up in the morning, you have to attend to the planet. You have to do the boring work of weeding.
Think about what that means. The baobabs are bad habits, right? Or resentments. They start small and look harmless.
Exactly. And if you put off dealing with them, they take root, and then they can destroy your whole world. He's practicing, like, mental hygiene.
His life is pretty lonely, though. His only real pleasure for a long time was watching sunsets. And on his planet, he can just move his chair.
There's that one incredibly sad line where he tells the pilot, "One day I saw the sunset 43 times."
And then he adds, one loves the sunset when one is so sad.
It's just, yeah. It's a portrait of the melancholy. But that all changes with the arrival of the rose.
This is the catalyst for his entire journey. A new seed sprouts, and this flower is, well, she's not like the others.
No, she is high maintenance from the second she appears. She takes days to arrange her petals because she wants to be perfect. She's vain. She's demanding.
She asks for a screen to block drafts. She claims her 4 little thorns are claws to fight off tigers.
On a planet with no tigers.
Right. And the prince, he's young. He takes all her words at face value. Her vanity just annoys him. He doesn't see it's really a cover for her own fragility.
So he decides to leave. He cleans his volcanoes, pulls the last baobabs, and goes to say goodbye. And that's when she drops the act.
It's a huge shift. She says, "I have been silly. I ask your pardon. Try to be happy."
She even refuses the glass globe he offers to protect her. She says she has to endure a few caterpillars if she wants to meet the butterflies.
She tells him to go quickly so he won't see her cry. And the prince admits later he got it all wrong.
He says, "I ought to have judged by deeds and not by words." She perfumed his planet. She made it radiant. He just didn't know how to love her.
So he leaves, and this starts his tour of the nearby asteroids, which is basically a tour of flawed grown-ups.
The gallery of adult archetypes, yeah. First up is the king.
The king. He claims he rules the entire universe.
But he only gives orders that are going to happen anyway. He'll command the sun to set, but only at the time it's already scheduled to set. He's the embodiment of powerless authority.
Then you get the vain man. He only wants to be admired. He asks the prince to clap so he can tip his hat.
And his definition of admire is to be told he's the handsomest, best-dressed, richest man on the planet.
Which is, he's the only man on the planet.
It's the perfect satire of needing external validation.
After him, there's the drunkard. That one's a quick, dark visit. He drinks to forget.
To forget what?
To forget that he's ashamed.
Ashamed of drinking is just this tragic, closed loop. The prince just leaves thinking, grown-ups are certainly very, very odd.
But the next one, the businessman, he feels the most modern.
Oh, absolutely. The guy doesn't even look up. He's just counting. 501 million.
Stars. He's counting stars because he owns them. He writes the number down and locks it away.
And this is where the prince delivers that brilliant argument about what ownership really is.
Yes. He says, "I own a flower and I water her. I own 3 volcanoes and I clean them. It is of some use to my volcanoes and of some use to my flower that I own them."
But you are of no use to the stars.
That distinction is everything. For the businessman, ownership is just accumulation. For the prince, it's stewardship. It's a relationship.
The only adult he sort of respects is the next one, the lamplighter.
Right. His planet now spins once a minute, so he's constantly lighting and extinguishing his lamp. He gets no rest.
It's an absurd job, but the prince respects him because his work is for something other than himself. He's faithful to his orders, even if they don't make sense anymore.
Finally, there's the geographer, an old man with huge books who never leaves his desk. He waits for explorers to bring him information.
And he's the one who delivers the devastating news. The prince describes his flower, and the geographer says, "We do not record flowers."
Oh, not.
Because they are ephemeral.
Threatened by speedy disappearance, and that's the moment it hits the prince. His rose isn't permanent, she's vulnerable, and he left her all alone.
That realization, that regret, is what sends him to the next planet, Earth.
And Earth is a total shock. He lands in the desert. The first creature he meets is the snake.
Who speaks in riddles. The snake is almost like a mythological figure. He says, "Whomever I touch, I send back to the earth from whence he came."
He's offering death, really.
Yeah.
The prince doesn't quite get it. He climbs a mountain, shouts hello, and just hears an echo. He thinks the people on Earth have no imagination. They just repeat what you say.
He's still comparing everything to his rose, who always spoke first. But the real crisis comes when he finds a garden.
A garden with 5,000 roses.
And this just breaks him. His rose told him she was the only one of her kind in the entire universe.
Mm.
And here they are, thousands of them.
He just lies down in the grass and cries. He feels like a fraud. He thought he was a great prince with a unique treasure, but all he has is a common rose and 3 tiny volcanoes.
This is his lowest point. And it's at that exact moment that the fox shows up. This is the philosophical core of the entire book.
The prince asks the fox to play with him, but the fox says he can't. I am not tamed.
The prince has to ask what tamed means. And the fox defines it as to establish ties. He explains that right now the prince is just one of 100,000 little boys. They don't need each other.
But, he says, if you tame me, then we shall need each other. To me, you will be unique in all the world. To you, I shall be unique.
I love the example he uses with the wheat fields. He doesn't eat bread, so the wheat means nothing to him. But the prince has golden hair.
So if he's tamed,
The golden wheat will remind him of the prince. He'll love the sound of the wind in the wheat. Taming is what gives the world meaning.
so the prince tames him. He learns about rituals, about preparing the heart, but then he has to leave, and the fox says he's going to cry.
And the prince says, it's your own fault, basically. You got nothing out of this.
But the fox corrects him. He says, I have gained. Why? Because of the color of the wheat.
The pain of leaving doesn't erase the value of the connection. The world is richer now. So the fox sends him back to the Garden of Roses.
And this time, the prince sees them differently. He tells them, you are beautiful, but you are empty. One could not die for you.
He says his rose is more important than all of them combined. Why?
Because it is she that I have watered. Because it is she that I have put under the glass globe. Because she is my rose.
The time he wasted on her is what makes her so important. That's the whole secret.
And the fox gives him that secret outright as he leaves. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye.
But there's a second part to it, which is just as important.
You become responsible forever for what you have tamed.
You are responsible for your rose. It's not just about feeling good. It's about duty. It's the cost of connection.
And with that, we get 2 final little jabs at the modern world. The switchman and the merchant.
The switchman is just sorting people onto trains, rushing back and forth. They're all asleep or yawning.
Only the children have their noses pressed to the glass. The prince figures only the children know what they're looking for.
The adults are just rushing from nowhere to nowhere.
And then the merchant selling pills to quench your thirst, you save 53 minutes a week.
And the prince's logic is just perfect. He asks what you do with the 53 minutes you save.
The merchant says, whatever you like.
And the prince thinks, if I had 53 minutes to spend, I would walk very slowly toward a fountain.
It's the perfect takedown of efficiency culture. We're so busy saving time, we forget to actually live. Walking to the well is the point.
And that's where we end up, back in the desert with the narrator and the prince. They're out of water. But the prince says the desert is beautiful because somewhere it hides a well.
And they go find it by walking. The water they find isn't just a drink. It was born of the walk under the stars. It was good for the heart.
So the question the book leaves you with is pretty direct. We spend so much time acting like the businessman, counting our stars, or like the passengers on the train, just rushing.
We have to ask ourselves, what have we tamed? What's our rose? What is the thing that makes the wheat fields golden for you?
Because the meaning isn't in the thing itself. It's in the ties you create. And are you taking responsibility for those ties? Or are you letting the bell bobs grow?
A good reminder to look with the heart, not just the eyes.
Absolutely.
Thanks for diving deep with us on The Little Prince.
See you next time.